And we're kicking off today with AEW Collision, as this week's show didn't start with a series of promos like usual, but rather with Bryan Danielson coming to the ring to face Andrade El Idolo. While they competed back in 2018, this was the first time the pair had gone one-on-one in AEW, and the match started slowly with hammerlocks and reversals. A cheap shot gave Andrade the advantage in this battle of two masters of technical wrestling who could outshine most of the roster in their sleep if they wanted to. While Andrade had the size advantage, Danielson's proficiency with submissions meant he never felt like the underdog, and the pair felt relatively even as the pace quickened. At times, Andrade was frustrated that Danielson was outsmarting him, and it would be Danielson who'd score the clean victory, followed by a post-match respectful handshake. It was after the match that the lights went out, and when they came back on, Malakai Black was there to lay out Danielson with Black Mass. It appears that Bryan Danielson has another ex-WWE superstar to face next in Malakai Black. If anything, the BCC versus House of Black could be a compelling war. After Friday Night SmackDown went off the air, Jimmy Uso interfered in Jey Uso versus Drew McIntyre and beat down his brother before LA Knight made the save. Knight would then cut a promo in the ring with Jey Uso present, where he sent a message to the Bloodline, especially Roman Reigns. Knight promised to knock Reigns' teeth down his throat at Crown Jewel. You know your family's a real pain in the right? You have Solo, Jimmy, and what do they call him? The Tribal Chief, right? Well, how about this? When I get to Saudi Arabia, I'm gonna knock every one of his big, shapeless-sized Tribal Chief teeth down his throat. You're gonna be looking at the new WWE Undisputed Universal Champion because I made it that way. We'll have to see how the company will continue to book Roman Reigns and LA Knight's feud in the coming weeks, as fans are more than happy for Knight's growth. Ahead of the NHL Chicago Blackhawks home opener, an appearance by Chicago's own CM Punk has surprised the fans. After earlier reports that he was planning on attending the game, which he did, in lieu of being present at Impact Wrestling's Bound for Glory, Punk appeared in a vignette introducing the Blackhawks. In the clip, Punk was shown in a signature Blackhawks jersey, touting the importance of the fans and the success of the team. CM Punk continues to be a hot topic amongst fans as all eyes continue to anticipate where they may see him next. An update has emerged regarding whether or not there has been any backstage heat between two AEW stars after a spicy promo last week. On last week's Collision, Adam Copeland and Ricky Starks had a spontaneous exchange in the ring, including Copeland referring to Starks as a vanilla midget version of The Rock, which some fans thought could have led to a bigger issue between the two. A new report from Fightful Select indicates that sources believe that everything is fine between Copeland and Starks, and that there have been no reports of backstage heat after their exchange on Collision. It was noted that Copeland often writes his own material, but in that particular moment was just trying to give back what Starks had given to him in terms of the exchange. Prior to Copeland's vanilla midget line, Starks had told Copeland, "Sadly, you didn't take style from the other place," after Copeland took a shot at Starks' stupid silk slacks. Copeland has reportedly gotten great reviews among AEW talent and staff for his time in the company so far. One AEW name did say that they probably wouldn't have used the vanilla midget line in that situation, but at the end of the day, it was just two guys having an off-the-cuff exchange. WWE has reportedly signed 3 independent talents to NXT or the Performance Center deals, including the son of a WWE legend and backstage force. According to Bodyslam.net, names from the tryouts that have been confirmed as being offered deals with WWE are Brogan Finley, Lucky Ali, and Jay Malakai. Brogan Finley is the real-life son of Fit Finley, known for his on-screen work in WWE, but also described as an unsung hero backstage. Both Jay Malakai and Lucky Ali have worked matches for AEW in the past. With CJ Perry at ringside action, Andretti took on her husband Miro in a match that came about after Andretti approached Perry last week. Perry tried to hide her smile as she watched Miro destroy Andretti in what could have just been one of many squash matches on the night, if not for Andretti getting in a surprising amount of offense. The story might have benefited more from Miro getting an easy victory, but having a good back and forth is never a bad thing, and made Andretti look good, even in defeat. In the end, though, it was Miro and his camel clutch that got the win, resulting in Perry applauding her husband, who did little to acknowledge her in return. Miro looked at the broken Andretti with a look resembling respect for his efforts before heading backstage in a solid performance from both competitors. The story AEW is telling is still somewhat confusing, which is leading towards crowds not knowing how to react, and in this case it was Miro, the towering brute, who had the fans on his side. Miro rarely gets to play to the crowd, but the fans loved him this week, as his character without a clear heel or face alignment is getting over well with the AEW faithful. FTR were in the ring to face local talents Bad Thad Brown and Darian Thangston, but after a few moments, the lights went out. When they were back on, Malakai Black was standing in the ring, and after they were turned off and on again, Brody King and Buddy Matthews stood with him. The trio attacked FTR and left the ring, with the match, which would have almost certainly been a squash, not taking place. It's clear that the House of Black have their sights set on multiple targets, which could make for a very interesting show, with the Macabre faction taking no prisoners. In tag team title action, new champs Big Bill and Ricky Starks defended against Wheeler Yuta and Claudio Castagnoli, and for the third time in the night, the House of Black got involved. Black distracted the ref while Matthews and King attacked the BCC, allowing Bill and Starks to get the win and retain their titles. The message of this segment and the show was to establish the House of Black as a force to be reckoned with, which is a smart plan, but the execution was not ideal. Having the group involved in half the matches on Collision was a bit much, and a post-match brawl that included Bryan Danielson and FTR was seemingly going the way of the House of Black. That was until Jon Moxley made his return, coming through the crowd to help his BCC brothers and FTR, earning a massive pop from the crowd in the process. In ROH World TV title action, Tony Nese had a somewhat random opportunity to dethrone Samoa Joe, but that wasn't meant to be. The match lasted a minute and saw Joe retain with his Muscle Buster and another squash match in a 3-hour block that had already had a few. Impact Wrestling news now, as last night saw the company host its Bound for Glory pay-per-view, which featured some notable names make surprise appearances. During the Call Your Shot Gauntlet, Juventud Guerrera made an early appearance in the match after previously being spotted in the arena. Sonny Kiss made their Impact debut in the match, earning Sonny chants from the crowd in Illinois, and given that Kiss only recently left AEW, this was a debut nobody saw coming. Matt Cardona made his return to Impact as the surprise entrant, but like the other surprises, the Indie God would fail to win the match. Instead, it was Jordynne Grace who got the win and called her shot for a Knockouts title match at Hard to Kill, in a highlight from the Bound for Glory pay-per-view. In another title match at AEW's Battle of the Belts special, Orange Cassidy defended the international title against John Silver, who earned the match with a triple threat win on Rampage. Silver took control right away and showed his strength by throwing the champion from corner to corner, and the two worked comfortably at a fast pace. Perhaps the biggest strength of the match was the pair's ability to get laughs from comedy spots, as these were used multiple times in the match without being overdone. In fact, Silver and Cassidy looked like they wanted this to be less about the usual comedy stuff and more about them being good wrestlers, and used some impressive sequences. Alex Reynolds hitting Cassidy with the title belt wasn't enough to keep him down for the pin, as OC hit the Orange Punch to get the win and retain his title. The newer, angrier Skye Blue had a match against Hollywood Haley, who fans may know from Netflix's OVW documentary Wrestlers, who was making her AEW debut. Haley got in a couple of strikes, but ultimately ended up getting pinned by the Code Blue, as Skye made quick work of her opponent and showed more aggression than usual. Hollywood Haley was supposed to have a WWE tryout in recent memory, but they couldn't get the proper paperwork first, and this may not be the last time we see her on TV. Willow Nightingale had a chance to win the AEW TBS Championship when she faced Kris Statlander, and it was Nightingale who scored the first takedown of the match. The pair delivered a match that hit harder than most fans would expect, and it was ultimately Statlander who got the win with a 450. As Nightingale went to shake the champ's hand, Skye Blue, who was wearing an awesome Scooby-Doo themed gear for the show, tried to convince her not to, but to no avail. Willow shook Statlander's hand, with Skye Blue looking unhappy about the decision as her character continues to develop its edge. Up next, we saw the Guns facing the Outrunners, and while it may be Austin and Colton who are second-generation stars, it was the Outrunners who had a style throwing back to the 80s and 90s. In the end, the Guns picked up an easy win in what felt like under a minute, and having so many squash matches is certainly a choice AEW made. So that was AEW's Collision and the company's Battle of the Belts, a solid enough show, albeit one that featured perhaps too many squashes. But what did you think of the show? Do you think the right people won these title matches? Sound off in the comments. And we're ending today with Impact Wrestling, as the promotion saved a massive announcement for the very end of Bound for Glory. In the closing moments of the show, Impact announced that they will be returning to its original Total Nonstop Action name, starting with TNA Hard to Kill on January 13th, 2024. Jeff Jarrett, his father Jerry, and Bob Ryder founded Impact as NWA TNA in 2002, which became TNA Wrestling in 2004, before being rebranded as Impact Wrestling in March 2017. Further details about the return of TNA Wrestling will be revealed on Tuesday, October 24th during an exclusive interview and Q&A with Scott D'Amore. And what do you think of this massive change?